As we all know, the NBA season has been dwindling away. The game is almost over. We're about to get to the serious point of the year, the playoffs. The hoop sessions are about to get real open. But before I even get on that, I'd like to talk about this MVP race. This MVP race has been going crazy. So the two front runners, and then there's everybody else. At first, at number one, I have SGA. SGA has been hooping for a good minute. He's been putting up, I think, like 33, 5, and like 4-ish. Great numbers. MJ numbers. You know what? The only players that are put up those type of numbers is like MJ. Not even now. I was going to say LeBron. Nope, not LeBron. It's MJ, Harden. Those a couple years when he was out here just scoring out of his absolute mind. And then the Luka year. And then the Luka year where he averaged 32 with the Dallas Mavericks. And it looks like he might not even win it, even though he has the first seed and he's been dominating for the past this whole year. He's been on a ridiculous tear. I think he's up to like 40 to 50 games of putting up 20 points over and over and over. The last time I've seen a guy hoop like this was when Harden was in 2018. But hey, we're not here to talk about Harden right now. And then the number two guy who honestly might end up winning. I'm not going to be too mad if he wins, but I will be looking at the league very side-eye if SGA doesn't get it. It's the head of Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic might walk away with his fourth. This would be his fourth. This would be his fourth MVP. And you know what's funny? This season, this is his best season he's had in his career. He's had 3 MVPs, and this season right now is better than all those other seasons. He's putting up like 28, 12, and 10. Y'all might be having flashbacks to them Russ years. Y'all might be having flashbacks to the Russell Westbrook putting up a triple-dub, that 30-point trip-dub. But I'd like to say, and I'd like to add, this is by far more efficient than what Russ was doing. This season has been the battle of the greats because of if you were to transplant any of these 2 seasons across NBA history, you would be surprised how many years they would win it. Just absolutely destroy. And honestly, I feel like this is a conversation about and MVP rhetoric, as well as what do people truly value. Because if we sit back and look at the OKC Thunder squad, they are by far the favorites to come out of the West. Like, it's it's literally them, and then the second people then the second will probably be like the Lakers, but I think that's only because they have the superstar talent to blow people away. But the reason why I like to bring up the OKC Thunder, their squad is looking like an all-time squad. Like, even at their win rate, I think they're, you know what? I'm going to look it up. The OKC Thunder at this moment is 61-12. They're on pace to have like that, like 5th. I think they're going to have the 5th best win-loss record of all time. Because there's what? The 72-10 Bulls. And then there's the 73-9 Warriors, and there's about 10 more games. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 more games, and they could realistically nearly win out. Yeah, no, it's crazy. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. They might end up sitting some players just because of like the rest of it all. But hey, that's a whole another conversation to be had. But watching SGA this season with this squad, their team, I will say, is overpowered. Their squad from top to bottom is like all time. When you sit back and try and remove the before we get there, the 3 factors that are usually put out to decide who is the MVP is usually set out for the stats, the narratives, and the team construction in context to everybody else. The OKC Thunder, their team is stacked. They have a bunch of players that are starting on any team across the league, even on the Boston Celtics. And even if when you step back, OKC Thunder has a starting 5 of Shai, J-Dub. Who's their 3? Shai, Alex Caruso, J-Dub. Actually, no, Caruso's their 6th man. Shai, Lou Dort, J-Dub, Chet, and Harkenstein. That's nice. That's actually a really nice squad. And they can go smaller, they can go bigger, depending on what type of construction they really want to throw out there. And it makes me think, with their squad, the way it's set up, if you take off a guy like SGA, there's still going to be a 4 seed if they're ran by J-Dub instead of SGA. But are we going to take that are we going to put that into consideration when we do try and discuss who his opposition is in Nikola Jokic? Because when you sit back and you look at their team, the Denver Nuggets suck. But I think that is purposeful. They have set their team up to the point where they have a guy like Nikola Jokic, where his center of the hub makes everybody into players that they would have no way it actually reaching their full potential. Like, you have a guy like Jamal Murray, in some people's minds will be sometimes he looks like a top 10 player, especially when he plays against the Lakers, because of his ability to play off of Nikola Jokic is like, honestly, it's a match made in heaven. Just the way that they were able to play inside out, and the way that he's able to just pick and pop the whole 9 yards, just shooting, creating the whole 9 yards of it. But if you do remove a hub like Nikola Jokic, their team becomes atrocious. So now I'd like to ask you the question: when you're comparing two players, are we going to value the guy that's able to make a team good? Or actually, no, are we going to value a team that's able... Are we able to value a player that's going to have your guy jump from a truly atrocious team to being a good, maybe they might make some noise in the playoffs team? Or would you rather value a guy that makes a good team a spectacular team? Basically, the conversation the conversation I like to call, or the argument I like to call the Russ argument for winning the 2016 MVP, where he was able to quote unquote drag his team from... What were they? They were going to be dragging their team from being statistically the worst team of all time, like them Bobcat years. Like they were going to be atrocious when Russ gets off the field, to being a team that's actually able to make the playoffs and quote unquote make some noise. So that's something you have to think about when you are trying to dissect these two players. And one of the things, and then when you step back and try and look at Nikola Jokic in context with SGA, they have been battling for the best player in the league this whole season, which is super interesting because a player like Nikola Jokic has been objectively the best player on the team, best player in the league by a good margin for the past like 3-4-ish years. Maybe not the year with Joel Embiid, but that conversation between Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic is very shaky just to begin with. But that again is a whole nother conversation to be had. And then as you start looking at a guy like SGA in comparison, you get to notice one thing. He is very silky, and he is able to get to whatever spot he needs to. When you take a step back to last year, one of his main problems, he's able to score in very efficient ways in only select areas of the court. If it's driving red, if it's not driving red. If it's not driving right with the step back pull up, or getting all the way into the lane trying to get the foul to the end one, this year it's everywhere. Out of nowhere, he started like dribbling down the court, just a step up three. He did not have that in his bag last year. And speaking of his bag, I've gotten to the point where the world and the NBA media has dragged how many fouls he is truly getting. He is not a merchant on the line. I refuse to believe that. I was watching their game like 2 nights ago. I'm at the point where I truly believe the NBA media has dragged it, and NBA fans have dragged how many fouls he is truly getting. I was watching the Grizzlies game a couple nights ago, and when I tell you, these are not fake fouls. The ones that they are picking up to show y'all are cherry picked, because they be trying to throw that man around. They be bumping him. They be grabbing him. And it gets to the point where his play style is just sets you up to foul him. So when Harden In 2018, he was averaging, I think, like 12 to 14 free throws per game. One of the things that he would do is he would drive by you and then hook you. He would hook you with his arm and then go up. The way that SGA gets fouled, he literally drives and he extends first and then pulls it up to get to the lane. That is completely different. He is not grabbing people. He's not actively making unnecessary moves to get to where he needs to go. I know y'all are gonna keep trying to show that one cherry picked clip where they pulls up and then he goes to the side and gets that foul. But hey, that's not the way he truly plays. And it's starting to get annoying because every team has a player that does that. And to discredit the other, he's averaging like 30 something. He's averaging like 31 points. To discredit the other 20 points he's getting per game just because y'all don't like the 10 free throws he's getting, not to mention he's shooting the free throws at a really, really, really high clip. But even when you take that and compare it to historical players, it's not even that crazy of a clip. That is ridiculous to me. That is so ridiculous. So this MVP race has been very difficult to decide who. This MVP race has been very difficult to decide who is really a step above everybody else in context of these two players, because I feel like we are rating the MVP on a weird spectrum. And let me get to the point of narrative playing a really big part into this game. At this moment, SGA has, I think, 70 of the 30 media votes. And the media is basically people that decide who is going to actually win these awards. SGA is by far in the league, but let me make a case for a guy like Nikola Jokic real fast. Nikola Jokic's team is not set up to do much without him, right? I already mentioned this earlier. He is the hub, and he's responsible for so many points, because not even to mention the 28 points he's putting up a game, but to look to the right, he is getting 12 assists every single night. That is a lot. That is a lot. That's like, let's assume all those are 2-pointers. He's responsible for 24 more points on top of his already 28. That is a lot of points. That is a lot of motions. A lot of players that are getting involved in the game, making you have to figure out which poison to really get at. That's number one. Number two, I feel like people are forgetting how injured this team was. They did not have Aaron Gordon for a good amount of time, meaning that Nikola Jokic was forced to step up mainly on the defensive end. People forget how much of a jump this guy Jokic had in the defensive end. People keep saying the sentence, he is not that good at defense. Let me explain to you why they think he's not that good of a defender. In 2020, in the NBA bubble, Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets faced off against the Jazz, the Utah Jazz with Donovan Mitchell. Yes, the iconic Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray playoff game, where they were both putting on their most historic games. Every other game, losing in 7 in the long term, right? Bro. Donovan Mitchell was averaging, I think, if I could call it off head, he might have the highest playoff average of all time, just based off that game. He for sure has the highest scoring in one playoff game for sure. I think with 54 to 58 points. Those numbers could be wrong, but that's not the point of this rant real quick. It was getting to the point, the way that they were getting their points was Donovan Mitchell knew as long as I can keep Nikola Jokic involved, I can score. And when you look back in the plays, that's literally all that was happening. He would call Nikola Jokic up, he would get the pick and roll and just be a foot race to the lay, get the bucket. And they would do that over and over and over again. And then when you jump back to the next series versus the Warriors, or it might be the series before, beyond the point. It was the year before, yes, that they lost to the Warriors. They were continuously bringing Nikola Jokic up for the pick and roll and forcing him to play defense out in space or play defense in transition where you know that is not his thing. And since he was offensively talented and offensively gifted, he wasn't where he is now. So the amount that he was leaking on the defensive end was wiping off all the progress that he was doing on the O. And the problem with that, it starts to become difficult to play you, or to at least, it gets difficult trying to hide you, especially in this type of NBA. But all that has changed, especially if you've been watching recently. The type of slack that he's had to pick up over this past year at least, has been crazy. It's been biblical. At this point, it's been biblical. Because people forget how much of a load Aaron Gordon has to take on when he is playing defense for the Denver Nuggets, because their team isn't. I like to call the Denver Nuggets Daryl Morey's side team, because they do not have much defensive schemes. I think that's partially because they rely so much on Jokic, but I also think they rely so much on the fact that he can play so many minutes for a whole game, because their backup centers aren't at the level where Nikola Jokic can even sit in the first place. So the fact that Nikola Jokic has been on this tear kind of proves how valuable he is. And again, that's kind of the whole point of the MVP in the first place, because it's the most valuable player. But I think the problem that we've reached and we've gotten to was the MVP has changed meanings every single year for the past however long the league has been giving out MVPs. But I think the main problem, the NBA has changed its criteria for an MVP every single year for as long as they've been giving out MVPs. Because before, it used to be whoever is the best player on the best team in the league that has the most wins in comparison to everybody else. That's not always the case. Then it became who's able to have the most impressive, who had the most impressive stat lines. And then that changed. And then it changed to who's just the objective best player in the league. And that was changed to what it is now, where we don't know what to go off of. And it turns into the eye test, and that's very difficult to have, in my own opinion. Yeah. But if I was to put out an MVP, I would say the MVP should go to Shai. I would say it should go to Shai, just based off of the style that he's winning it in, because of he is the best player on the best team by far. Like that's I feel like we should at least reward that for what it is, at least in this season, where people might not say it's cut and dry, but me personally, I think it is. I definitely think it is, because Jokic's squad, I think they're like the fifth seed, and it's like, yeah, that's a bit much.